Formal charges have been filed in Illinois against Dr. Devin Horton, who served as superintendent of the state's third largest school district for more than 2 years now.
Too much propaganda, spiritual pollution, too many problems, not enough solutions.
All right, listen up, y'all.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is another episode of All Things Education Official. I'm your host and educator, Dr. Abdullah, giving you educational news from a foundational Black American man's perspective. If you like what you're seeing, you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, comment, like, and share. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Put me in the algorithm. And if you like, please follow me on my social media handles at Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X. And if you like the content, you like what I'm putting out, and you want to support the channel, please feel free to go to the About section and buy me a cup of coffee. It will be greatly appreciated. Today, I want to touch on a topic in education, particularly in urban education. And it's widely known, but it's only spoken of in moments of reflection or turmoil. I'm speaking about the constant crises of Black men and women in school leadership.
But because there is a single-minded purpose, and that purpose is to cheat, to manipulate the grades, what we are alleging is that she was a full participant in that conspiracy.
By that of Vincent Grayson, who was a basketball coach at Booker T. Washington High School in the Houston Independent School District, and it said that he was the kingpin of a cheating ring that would help teachers who could not pass the certification all of a sudden pass. Now, it is said that teachers will come from as far as Dallas to go into Houston to take the test, right? Now, again, they would pay him $2,500 to do it. And it was not just him, but it was said that there was 4 other educators that were a part of this ring. And they amassed over $1 million over, I think, since 2020.
43 was the principal at Colleyfield Heritage High School. He, in the wake of the George Floyd murder, wrote a letter to the school community declaring that systemic racism is, quote, alive and well. I don't know about you guys, what? How is that at all incendiary? But apparently it was. And in the next school board meeting, there was an initial discussion to perhaps fire that principal, Whitfield. And it took about a year, but they finally did in July of 2021.
The Chicago Public Schools Law Department targeted at least 6 principals for removal last year, and all 6 were Black. One of the 3 best examples of the law department's malfeasance in conducting these investigations is the case investigator Kelly Tarrant concocted against Principal Abdul Muhammad.
This situation has so many layers. I don't even know where to actually begin, so I'll just start where I am. I've worked under some of the best school administrators and some of the worst. I've been in buildings where the leaders were courageous and they cared so much about the children that their home lives suffered. And alternately, I worked with administrators that only cared about the paycheck, and most of them only care about the prestige of being called a principal. Oftentimes, we think about what is to become a leader, but for years, I didn't understand why these leaders were so vastly different. It wasn't until I began to seek out membership into this club of educators and it all became clear. There are pressures that are unspoken, but loud as a bomb. First, one of the most disturbing dilemmas is the decision that many leaders have to make between actually educating their students or teaching to the test, which is not, in education, something that's uncommonly seen. We all know that that's not actual education. It's only memorization. This is so common that it's become a fact in many of our school districts, particularly school districts inhabited by predominantly Black students. Secondly, leaders have to decide if they're willing to work around or sometimes against the educational system by implementing things into their curriculums or protocols that would actually benefit children and not just look as if they're benefiting children. Smoke and mirrors is common in school districts. It ain't always what you see, it's the results. I worked under a principal that would allow any district leader to come push him around with little to no pushback. It was so bad that they reduced the school from a 6 to 12 school to a 9th grade through 12th grade school. Even though the initial model was designed to help benefit Black boys specifically, honestly, it was sad and disgraceful. Third, leaders have to choose between being courageous and going along to get along. I've seen many school leaders do what they were told, and typically it was by someone who didn't know the student population or genuinely just didn't care about them. In these instances, the children suffer immensely, and the school leader is left holding the bag despite having the opportunity to push back to actually do right by children. Fourth, many school leaders are put into positions where their budgets are tight and cut. Due to cuts and restrictions, they refuse to fundraise, and they only refuse because of district restrictions, ironically. PTAs, outside agencies, and religious groups are always in the market for assisting educational entities. But these districts have rules, and they are in place to help mitigate misappropriation and theft of funds. If you want your school to succeed, you have to find alternate ways to incorporate outside monies. It takes planning and it takes time, but there is always a way. Fifth, many Black women who are in school leadership or feel forced to prove that they are worthy of the position they have acquired. And in an effort to do so, they follow the directives of the district or the school board in order to obtain the results that the higher ups are looking for. If they would only just lean into their skill sets in nurturing ways, our children would benefit academically and socially. I've been fortunate enough to have an amazing school leader who was a female in East Orange, New Jersey. My former principal, she forced me to be a better educator and wanted to provide our children with as many opportunities as possible. She is not an anomaly, but we are often bombarded with the imagery of the ones that do not operate in the positive. Finally, number 6, those school leaders that are so interested in looking the part or gaining for self that cheat on tests, fudge grades, steal funds, misappropriate time, everything under the book, and they put a stain on the rest of us that choose education as a field to help future generations. Though they are a minority in the teaching field, whenever they commit these unscrupulous acts, we all get the blowback, pause, and we are seen as incompetent as a group. I always ask this question: if you know that you could get caught, lose your license, lose your profession and livelihood, be put on blast in the news and the media, and be disgraced, and that the likelihood of these things happening are high because we are always under the microscope, why would you do it? It can't be that serious. I just don't get it. There are so many ways that we can help our children. Truthfully, if we were to galvanize, especially in heavily populated Black districts, we can make real progress with education. There are areas of NYC that are populated by different ethnic groups, and they come together and make the school districts cater to their cultural and academic needs. We're gonna have to cut all this BS about trying to get our own personal bag and make ourselves look good, and create systems and networks within the current system and outside of it to benefit our children specifically. Once again, this is another episode of All Things Education Official. Please hit the like, subscribe button, hit the like and subscribe button. Share this broadcast, share with a teacher, share with an educational leader, share it with a parent of a child in school. You are dismissed.
Too much propaganda, spiritual pollution, too many problems, not enough solutions. So many billionaires that make no contributions. We gotta create, fund, and maintain our institutions. Too much propaganda, spiritual